Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Ninaikkireenade Kannamma. Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Ninaikkireenade Kannamma. Thannaiye shashi endru thannaiye shashi endru charanamedine. Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Ninaikkireenade. பொன்னையே நிகர்த்த மேனி தன்னையே நிகர்த்த சாய. பொன்னையே நிகர்த்த மேனி தன்னையே நிகர்த்த சாய. பின்னையே நித்ய கன்னியே கண்ணம்மா. பின்னையே நித்ய கன்னியே கண்ணம்மா. கண்ணம்மா நின்னையே ரதியென்று நினைக்கிறேனடே. மாற நம்புகள் என் மீது, மாற நம்புகள் என் மீது வாரி வாரி வீசனி கண் பாராயோ வந்து சேராயோ. மாற நம்புகள் என் மீது வாரி வாரி வீசனி கண் பாராயோ வந்து சேராயோ. கண்ணம்மா நின்னையே ரதியென்று நினைக்கிறேனடே. So this song, according to me, should be filed under, they don't make them like that anymore. It's just such a beautiful song and it's had such a profound impact on me. So this is from an album called Yaar Bharathi, and it's a compilation of poems of Bharatiyar, and the music is composed by Girishh Gopalakrishnan. This album was released in 2014, so I think it's kind of a tragedy that I discovered it only very recently, maybe about 6 months ago. And this particular song has been sung so wonderfully, impeccably by Pradeep Kumar. So what makes this special? I mean, let me just say before I get into all the theory and swaras and ragas and all that apart, you know, this song I feel just goes beyond all that. It has a very strong emotional appeal for me. So let's get down to business. The starting of the song sounds like it's a Nalinakanthi, right? And I'm a total sucker for this ragam, and I'm sure I'm not alone. It's a hugely popular ragam, right? I just love it. So it starts off like, you know, it's a Nalinakanthi. Ninnaiye gama pani sani sare sani pani sagari maga sagari maga. That's like the, you know, trademark phrase of Nalinakanthi, right? Kannamma. So something really magical happens in that Kannamma, but let me come back to that in a second. And then the rest of it goes like pon na 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 sani sa pani pa ma ma gari ma pa ma ga gari sani gari. So all you know, just oozing Nalinakanthi. And then the lower Daivatam makes an appearance. Before that, there's a really outstanding interlude, a violin interlude played by you know, the amazing Lalgudi Sri Jairam Krishnan ji. So it goes something like gari maga gari sani gari maga gari sani pari magari sani sari. You have to hear it to believe it. It's just so beautiful. Anyway, so there is this da that comes in, and it's not the higher da, but it's the lower da. And that is such a standout for me. Now, So that makes the song in the Sarasangi zone, right? Because Sarasangi is Sarigama pada nisa sanida pamagari sa. So let me now come back to that Kannama that I said I would come back to in the pallavi. Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Ninnaiye Kannamma. So there's that very subtle, short, quick, brief introduction of the da right there in the pallavi. It's like, they're teasing us with the da, it's like a teaser to what is to come. What is to come is a full-fledged introduction of the da, right? So in the pallavi, it's just a peak. The da just peaks and then it's gone. And then of course that interlude that I was talking about, it goes like Gari magagari sani gari magagari sani pari magari sani sari, and then sagari ma pari mada pa magari sagari ma pari mada pa gama sagari ma pari mada pa magari sagari ma pari ma pa sani pani pa maga. So there's the da that makes an appearance, and then towards the end of the interlude, it's again, pretty standard Nalinakanthi. Re ma pa sa ni pa ni pa ma ga re, right? And then of course the first charanam, second charanam both have liberal doses of the da, the lower da. Na 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 gari gari sani sakri sada, right? So and then rest of the song, as I said, the da keeps coming in, and it's very clear that okay, this is not Nalinakanthi. So I don't know if there exists a ragam like this. Now what is really interesting is I was aware for a long time that according to multiple sources, Nalinakanthi is considered a janyam of Sarasangi. But I never took that relationship seriously, because to me Nalinakanthi is this very peppy, extremely happy, vibrant ragam, and Sarasangi, because of the da, all the others are major notes, but because of the da, it brings down the mood of the entire scale. I mean, not to say that I don't like Sarasangi, I love Sarasangi, I think it's very beautiful, but I don't associate it with peppiness, with vibrance, So I knew that, okay, on paper there is this relationship. Nalinakanthi does not have the da, right? So it could either be a janyam of Shankarabharanam or Sarasangi, but I always associated it with Shankarabharanam, just because both are, in the happy category. And Sarasangi, I don't so much consider it in the very exuberant or happy, category. So, but this song was eye-opening for me, because it showed me how these two can be blended so beautifully together that I hadn't given that any thought, So I don't. Maybe we can call this new ragam Nalinangi or something, right? Nalinakanthi and Sarasangi. So you should absolutely check out this song if you haven't already done so. I will post the link in the description below. I want to talk about one more song in this album, but before that, I want to really quickly play that outstanding interlude that I mentioned. So the original Shruti is Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Ninnaiye Kannamma. So that's the original Shruti, and here is that interlude. Isn't that just so wonderful? And somehow whenever I hear this bit, the imagery that comes to mind is some kind of ballroom dancing. Just the sway of it, the movement just somehow I picture, if ever this is visualized, I feel it look really beautiful on screen with two people ballroom dancing. Anyway, the arrangement of the whole song is really beautiful. There's this sort of Western classical kind of violence, happening all through the song. So the next song I want to talk about is also from this album. It's called Endha Neramum. So the way I discovered this album was through a cover version of this other song, Endha Neramum, by Amrit Ramnath and his band, Bombay Jayashree's son, Amrit Ramnath. So it was purely accidental, and a friend of mine, Kavita Jairam. So Kavita, if you're watching, here's a shout out to you. Thanks to her, I heard that cover version, and through that I started digging into the original album and heard all these wonderful tracks. Anyway, so this other song, Endha Neramum, is also really beautiful. So it goes like Endha Neramum Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Kuravalli Sirakalli Endha Neramum Ninnaiye Rathiyendru Kuravalli Sirakalli. Really beautiful. So this is in the Hamsanadam zone. Technically it's Sarangatarangini because it has that Daivatam. Sarima Padani Sa Sanida Pamarisa. So Sarangatarangini or Vivahapriya. The whole song is pretty much purely in that scale. Again, one of my favorite ragas. There is a particular flute piece that comes, I think, in the prelude and also in one of the interludes, which is particularly beautiful. So it goes that ending bit, it just, every time I hear it, it just, it has such a deep impact on me, that that glide or the meend or the jaru from re to pa, re pa, somehow that just has a very special place for me. So on that note, I'll wrap up this episode of Songs I Love. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and see you next time.